Okay, I'm going to go through with you how to complete this practice exam. So let's just read through the task sheet first. I'm going to highlight all the important stuff. So Emily Edwards purchased a ride-on mower from Costello's Mowers and Chainsaws on May 1, 2010. The machine cost $3,300. So the first thing that's important is May 1, 2010 on credit, and we might as well just highlight who it was from, who we bought it from, and then the cost was 3,300 GST. At the end of the financial year 2010, let's see if we can do this again, it needed to be depreciated. It was depreciated at a rate of 10% by the straight line method. So we anticipate it'll last 10 years. That's useful life. Emily held it for another year and it needed to be depreciated in 30 June 2011. However, she was not satisfied and decided to sell it for cash, $2,200 including GST, on April the 1st, 2012. She purchased a replacement on the same date from Nats Mowing Supplies and Machines. It was purchased for $4,400 cash. So that means we use the bank, not accounts payable. The new ride-on was then depreciated for the remaining months of the year, June to June 30, 2012. And this time we used diminishing balance method, and the rate was 20%. Okay. So what you're required to do, use Excel to show a schedule for depreciation on the original mower. Assume it was depreciated straight line method 10 years. And then show ledger accounts for the period from 1 May to June 30, 2012. So we're going to do a general ledger which has everything in there. And it says, hint, use a timeline to help you figure out how long your asset was owned for in each financial period. So we are in fact going to do that right here and now. I'm just going to get that out of the way. So I'll show you what the timeline is going to look like. I can get some pen happening. Why is it not working? Whatever. Okay, so if we look at the information, we've got May 2010 all the way to 30 June 2012. So May 2010 is within the 2010 financial year, right? So we've got 3 financial years, 2010, 2011, and 2012. So this is all 30 June, etc. Right? This obviously is the 1st of July, that's the first day of the financial year 2009. So if we look up here, scroll back up, our first machine was purchased on the 1st of May 2010, which is 2 months prior to the end of the financial year. So we'll say purchased mower. Sorry, my writing is really messy. And that was on 1 May. So that means we had all of May and then all of June where we will record our depreciation in that first year. She then sells it for cash on April the 1st, 2012. So April is 3 months before the end of the 2012 financial year. So sold, whatever it was, machine, or was it a mower? It was a mower. And purchased a new one. So you put those in there, purchased new, right? So now we can see, if I could change the color, whoops, this color, put it in green. So for this first mower, we had depreciation for 2 months in 2010, for a full year in 2011, and for 9 months in 2012. For the new mower, we had it for 3 months in 2012. So we need to calculate depreciation for here, and for both of those, okay, in each of those financial years. So now we've got a timeline. It's pretty messy. Hopefully in the exam yours will be a bit neater. Right, so that's our first step of those stage 1 pre-steps that I printed out for you guys. The second thing we need to do now that we know that info, is to actually calculate the depreciation using those tables. So what we're going to do is go over to our Excel. This will work. Yes. Now, when we looked at our information, it said that the first mower, which is the one that we're interested in first, we depreciated using the straight line method. So if you go to your straight line tab, we can put in mower. And what I like to do, because there were 2 mowers involved, I just put the year that it was purchased, so in brackets 2010. The cost of that asset from our information was $3,000. Remember to take out GST. Very important that you don't include GST there. The date of purchase was the 1st of May 2010. The life was 10 years, and the depreciation method is straight line. And the rate was 10%. Is it 10%? Yes. Okay. But when we calculate our straight line method, we remember the formula is the cost of the asset less any residual value. In this case, there's no residual value, so we'll just leave it off, divided by the life of the loan. So that's $300 a year, which you'll also, if you did it like this, you'd see that that is 10%. So we've got $300 in there. So in this table here, we need to calculate for each year that she will own that for. Assuming she hasn't sold it, we'll do all 10 years. Okay, so in the first year, which is the 2010 financial year, she's only owned it for a portion of the year. So she bought it in May, so she's had it for all of May and all of June, therefore 2 months. So the value obviously is the 3,000, value of asset at the beginning of the year, 3,000. Annual depreciation would be 300, except you have to remember we have to multiply it by 2 months out of 12. She only owned it for 2 months. Annual depreciation in the first year will always be equal, accumulated depreciation will always be equal to annual depreciation in the first year only. And then the value of the asset at the end of the year will be the original value minus that annual depreciation. Okay. Year 2, 2011. Okay. She owned it for the full year in 2011. So we'll put in a formula equals to last year's value at the end of the year. Annual depreciation, we can just click up there to the 300. In here, you can lock this formula by putting 2 dollar signs after the letter and then after the number. What that means is now you can just click and drag that down, and it should reference that the whole way down. Okay. Our accumulated depreciation then is last year's depreciation plus this year's depreciation. And again, the value of asset at the end of the year will be equal to the beginning less the depreciation. Okay. I'm going to give you a trick. If you hold down the control and then hover your mouse over that and then drag, it should fill these all in for you. So we need 10 years, which will be to there. Explain one sec. So you simply, now that we've got those formulas in, all you need to do is click and drag each of these down, and it should fill them all in for you. So you can see why I was saying that this is the easy part of the question. It shouldn't take too long. So if we have a look now, in this 2020 year, we've gone into negatives. That's because in 2020, it's actually the 11th year if you include 2010, we can only claim 10 months worth of depreciation. So we need to go over to this annual depreciation section, put that in brackets, and multiply it by 10 over 12. So 10 months out of 12. And now we have nothing left at the end of that. That means it's fully depreciated and we don't have anything left on that one. So that's how you do the straight line depreciation table. I'll do the diminishing value at the same time. So our second asset was also a mower, but it was purchased in 2012. Just put that in brackets so you don't get confused. It was purchased for $4,400. Remember to take out. Oh, put that in the wrong place. So the date was the 1st of April 2012. It was purchased on $4,000. Take out GST. Remember, we weren't given a life for that one, so we'll just leave that blank for now because we don't really need it. We're using diminishing value method, or diminishing balance, whatever you want to call it. And we're depreciating at a rate of 20%. In the first year, 2012, the value will be equal to 4,000. The annual depreciation is that 4,000 multiplied by our depreciation rate, which is 20%. Same deal though. In 2012, we only owned it for 3 months, April, May, and June. So we need to apportion that first year. So that means multiply it by 3 over 12. So we're only claiming the value of 3 months worth. Accumulated depreciation equal to annual depreciation in the first year. And then 4,000, the value of the asset at the beginning minus that annual depreciation is equal to the value at the end of the year. If we now put in 2013, we'd be looking at equaling 3,800. Annual depreciation would be that figure divided by 20%. Accumulated depreciation, sorry, I divided it, I should multiply it. Multiplied by 20%. Accumulated depreciation is last year's depreciation plus this year's. Why did I multiply it again? Plus this year's. Equals that minus that. Minus. So value at the end is equal to value at the beginning minus your annual depreciation. Again, we could click and drag all of those down for however many years until we got to nil. But you don't need to in this question. You really only need that first amount because all we need to know is that annual depreciation for the 2012 month. Okay, so we are now up to step 3, which is to record the original purchase of the asset. You can see that this is quite a time-consuming thing, so it's really important that you guys practice for your exam. Okay, I'm going to put the next section in part 2 because I can only record in like 15-minute intervals. It's a bit silly. Alright, so that's step 1 and step 2, stage 1.